Kevin J Johnston, the #1 name in the land of the North, he's risen to fame. 40 years deep in the law he's read. Now the CRA shakes in fear and dread. Stop paying tax forever, my friend. With Kevin J Johnston, the fight doesn't end. Corporate debt, he'll make it all good. He's the man the CRA misunderstood. They vanish like mist when Kevin shows up with his legal fist. No more matching, no more lies, just clean-cut books and clear blue skies. Stop paying tax forever, my friend. With Kevin J Johnston, the rules start to bend. The CRA can scream and shout, but Kevin knows how to throw them out. They claim they've got the final say, but Kevin proves there's a better way. He fights for truth, he fights for you, and teaches what the courts won't do. Forever today. Let Kevin J Johnston show you the way. The expert, the rebel, the man with a plan. He's saving this nation, one client per hand. He's got 40 years of tax law knowing and corporate skills that keep cash flowing. GST, payroll, all in line. He'll save your neck and every dime. He studied law, both civil crime, and makes tax code sound so sublime. With stand-up jokes and punchlines tight, he makes your seminar a night of light. Kevin J, CRA just runs away. He's the tax manslayer with a legal plan, the best-looking genius in the land. Kevin J, taking all your tax away. If the government's scared, then it's safe to say he's the hero of the North, Kevin J. 2 million women cast their vote, said Kevin's hot, that's all she wrote. The suits at CRA can't compete, he's beaten them clean without deceit. 100 mil he's saved so far, he's raising truth like a legal star. And if you think you owe the state, he'll show you how to terminate. Kevin J, CRA just runs away. He's the tax manslayer with a legal plan, the best-looking genius in the land. Kevin J, taking all your tax away. If the government's scared, then it's safe to say he's the hero of the North,
Kevin J Johnston here. Welcome to the Tax and Money Show, episode 95. Hey, truckers, let's crush the CRA. That's correct. We're going to teach you in Canada how to never pay tax again and how to deal with the US of A. And we're going to help some of our American friends tonight deal with issues like moving money out of the United States and moving crypto around the world so that we can all get rich like we all should be, especially in the times that we've had over the last 40 years. There's been a lot of prosperity, but not a lot of education on how to keep your prosperity intact. I always appreciate everyone coming down here. This show is absolutely every single Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. And I'm always thrilled to bring to you an hour worth of education, an hour worth of information, and then field all of your questions over here on Instagram, over here on Kick, over here on TikTok. And yes, we do answer questions out of YouTube, Rumble, X, Restream, D Live. We're everywhere, right? We're on every platform. So save your questions for the second half of the show. We're going to dive right into it, everybody. In Canada, you might have heard that the CRA, the Canada Revenue Agency, has decided to make a ridiculous announcement that they are going on the warpath, everyone. That's right. They're going out to get your money and they're going to get it. The average Canadian buys into this because they do not comprehend that the Canada Revenue Agency is not a police force. They have no authority of any kind. They're just a bunch of big mouth losers. They have nothing. They've got nothing except for the fear that you show them. And that's fear that all of you put inside of your own minds because you're just not reading the law like I am. You're not learning about the law, the difference between the law and an act that would govern the CRA. But I'm not here to insult you. I'm here to have fun with you and educate you and help all of you make more money by paying less tax. So the Canada Revenue Agency has yelled out to all of the trucking companies across Canada, truckers who make almost no money whatsoever. There is just no money to be made. Why? Because we've allowed too much foreign traffic into the country. There are too many foreigners from countries that like to undercut because that's how their cultures function. Multiculturalism is an abysmal failure. It ain't going to work. It's never going to work. And it has ripped apart Canada and it's ripping apart the United States right now. Look at Minnesota. So I wanted to just point out that we're being undercut. So Canadian-born truckers who are part of the trucker culture, part of the Canadian culture of traveling all over the nation, are being completely ground out by undercutting. The Canada Revenue Agency does not tax foreigners who own trucking companies in Canada. Why? Because they use that one little word that is magic. It's like fairy dust. It's magical. You racist. And all of a sudden they don't get taxed. But Canadians who are born in Canada, regardless of skin color, if you speak perfect English and you're a conservative and you're a Canadian and you fly the Canadian flag, well, they tax you. They go strictly and solely at you. Now, there was indemnity that the CRA said that they had given to Canadians in the trucking industry to state that if you have a trucking company and you have only one client, that they were not going to consider you an employee of that client, that they were going to allow you to operate as an independent business. Now, anybody can open up a corporation in Canada and have only one client and invoice that one client, and it's completely legal to do so. What the Canada Revenue Agency is talking about, everyone, is not the law. It's just their policy. It's just something that they decided to do. They didn't even get Parliament to vote on it. They just said, yeah, we're going to do this now. We're going to come at you. So what I mean by this is that the CRA is now going to tell you, the trucker, if you're a one guy and a one truck and you've got a corporation and you have one client, let's say you only haul for Coke or Pepsi or RC Cola, if they're still around, and you invoice them, the CRA is now going to simply declare you an employee and not an independent owner operator. And they're going to say, okay, you've been saying that you're an independent operator now for the last 10 years, but we decided we're just going to say that you're an employee. So now for the last 10 years, all your GST write-offs, we want that back. All of your write-offs for repairing the truck and fuel and parking and overnights and hotels, and we want that money back. And we're going to then income tax you as opposed to corporately tax you. All right, that's what they're going to do. Now, solution. I will have one, but I'm going to wait a little bit before I divulge what the solution is because there is some information to go through on this. So let's get the slides rocking here, everybody. All right, where's my lovely face? Oh, it's almost. Oh, Lord, how does this work? There it is. There I am. All right, everyone. So we're protecting truckers from the Canada Revenue Agency. And what the CRA announced is that there's going to be a crackdown. That's right. A non-police force says we're going to crack down. It's the same idea as, let's say, I don't know, a team of 6-year-old hockey players who are about to step on the ice with, let's say, the Boston Bruins. And the 6-year-olds are going to say, we're cracking down and we're going to win this game. By the way, it's full contact, and the Boston Bruins will not be going easy on them because they're kids. That's really what it boils down to. It's us against the CRA who have no laws that actually allow them to do any of this nonsense. Just that you don't know this. And many of you are going to assume that the CRA has the right to break the law in the fashion in which they're doing now. So there we go. There's the focus. And they don't have the right to break the law. Nobody does. Even sometimes when police in Canada break the law, they'll do prison time. Not often, but sometimes. All right. So when they announced that the crackdown is beginning on Canadian truckers, they said, this is their release. This is not my release. I'm going to read their release. All right. Because I wouldn't type garbage like this ever. The Canada Revenue Agency is turning up the heat. Right off the hop. Really? This sounds like the National Enquirer or the National Examiner. Remember those papers? Woo. All right, let's try that sentence again. Fuego. The Canada Revenue Agency is turning up the heat on trucking companies in 2025. The long-standing penalty pause on T4A reporting is over. Payments over $500 to trucking companies must now be reported properly or penalties will apply. At the same time, the CRA is increasing audit activity and working directly with the labor program to target driver misclassification. This is not routine housekeeping. It's a coordinated enforcement push. Sounds scary. Again, we're talking about a 10-year-old threatening Mike Tyson in his prime. It is ridiculous to think that the CRA can just change its mind and charge you more tax because they feel like doing so without the direct permission and or voting of Parliament to actually grant this capacity. They're just doing it. And unfortunately, Canadians are letting it happen. But let's cover what this garbage means. So what they're saying is T4A. A T4A is in Canada what you would use to report commission sales. So if you're a realtor or you're a sales guy, you're selling cars, you're selling timeshares, which I recommend you don't, but you're selling anything, your supposed employer is going to mark down on a T4A slip that you made $100,000 in sales, which means the Canada Revenue Agency is going to want to grab almost $27,000 from you. Ridiculous. Why would an employer do this? Or why would a company do this? Because they're gutless, because they'll say, well, we have to do it. It's the law. It's not the law. If someone says, I don't want to be on payroll, here's an invoice for my time, pay it. That's the law. Anyone's allowed to write an invoice for anything that they want. You don't have to go onto the Canada Revenue Agency's payroll. So they're saying now these independent owner operators who have a corporation and are running all their funding, all their income, everything through the business. Now the CRA says you have to put those guys onto a T4. Truckers are going to quit. Any trucking company out there or any company out there that hires truckers or trucking companies, you're about to not get your stuff shipped. If you're literally going to take guys, independent operators from the corporate world and put them into this T4A world where they don't want to be and can't afford to be, then you're going to lose them. As soon as someone has determined that they're going to lose money every single day doing a job, they're not going to do the job. I've done this before. I've in some cases, I've had jobs in the past where I began to tabulate the amount of money I was spending to drive there and the amount of time I'd have to spend buying food and whatever else it might be. Plus, if the employer was to do something sick and mental and twisted, like make me buy a uniform with their logo on it to work there, when the scumbags, only scumbags do that type of thing, I would work it out. And I would realize, after tax and all the garbage that I have to put up with, I might only be making $68 a day. And I have simply just walked out the door on some jobs in the past, not making any grandiose announcements, not sitting down and handing over letters of resignation, just realizing now that the boss is cooperating with the CRA to rip me off. So I just abandoned my post. I've abandoned a few jobs in the past as such. As soon as I feel like I'm being treated unfairly, I'm gone. Truck drivers are going to take a great deal of offense to going from independent owner operators to being on payroll. So next part of this is payments over $500 that trucking companies are supposed to report them. There's no way for the Canada Revenue Agency to enforce that. You're a trucking company and they say you have to report every transaction over $500. That would be a full-time job for logistics companies and for warehouses and for trucking companies. I'm going to make a phone call to the CRA. Hello, Ooga Booga and Fufu and Boogadiga and all the other guys who work there. We just wrote an invoice or a check for $500. I'm not doing that. I would never share that type of information with them. And I would change my entire corporate structure if this is something that I was going to be told I had to do. Now, I don't like being told that I have to do something, and neither should any of you. So trucking companies will face penalties, but if the trucking company just simply stops reporting, the CRA has no way of knowing, and you're not going to face any penalties. One of the issues in Canada is that you all have tax trouble because you're snitching on yourselves on those stupid tax returns. I don't know how many times I've got to say it, but Clause 150 of the Income Tax Act states that you shall do a tax return, not you must do a tax return. And words matter. Shall is not must. No matter what anyone says, in civil law, shall is not must. So the next part of this is at the same time, the CRA is increasing audit activity and working directly with the labor program to target driver misclassification. If an auditor contacts you, you contact me, I get rid of the auditor. You do not cooperate with auditors. Clause 167 of the Income Tax Act says non-compliance. If there's no active investigation, you tell them, you can't even ask me these questions. Leave me alone or I'm calling the police. They'll say, well, we just activated an active investigation. You're going to say, oh, well, then I exercise my right to remain silent and you can call my lawyer. There we go. Call my lawyer because I'm not answering any of your questions. All right. So they're calling this a coordinated enforcement push. The CRA can't coordinate a damn thing. The Canada Revenue Agency, they hired 35,000 foreigners who don't speak English from countries that have never seen snow. So they are just not prepared to coordinate or collaborate on anything. Cheers. Thank you for the hat gift. I appreciate that. So we'll go down to the second slide here, everyone. Audits, penalties, and cross-border risk. And here we go with the whole thing. Oh my God, the CRA can see my passport. All right. Audits are becoming deeper and more aggressive. Ooh, there's that language again, especially for payroll and cross-border trucking operations. The CRA is actively reviewing payroll deductions, contractor arrangements, and remittances for carriers operating across borders. Failure to deduct or remit correctly can trigger large penalties, interest, and reassessments going back years. What used to be ignored is now front and center. Now, I did not write that. That's the CRA's caca that I'm reading to you right now because they want you to believe all of this. Now, let's talk about, let's go back through it and break it down properly so you understand your rights and what's actually going to happen here. Audits are becoming deeper and more aggressive. They haven't hired more auditors. And auditors out there, if you tell them, we will not be cooperating, we're going to cancel the audit. You can cancel the audit that they're bringing to you. You can say, no, we're canceling that. You go ahead and mark it down that we're not cooperating. Mark me down as hostile and uncooperative. And you can now talk to my lawyer if my lawyer chooses to waste his time speaking to you. By the way, any legal fees I have to pay due to you, I'm coming after you personally for them. You do not have to cooperate with an auditor. Auditors are not cops. They have no authority. They are losers. Do not give your time, the time you could be using making money, to losers. Do not spend time around losers. And the CRA is full of losers. That's just what that institution is. Next, the CRA is actively reviewing payroll deductions, contractor arrangements, and remittances. Make me your payroll guy. Could you imagine me getting a letter from any branch of the Canadian government and cooperating with them? Thanks for the hat. Of course, no, it's not going to happen. How many court orders did you see the Canadian courts place upon me, and how many of those did you see me actually obey? It was more than 40, and I obeyed 3. The other 37 couldn't be bothered. You're not going to stop me from living my life. So if I'm doing your payroll, truckers, and pay attention to this, I do payroll for trucking companies. If I do it, you are never going to be pestered by the CRA again. Why? Well, because I'm going to stop them dead in their tracks. They're going to say, we'd like to audit the books. I'm going to say, if you step 1 foot on my property, I'm going to put a bullet in you. That's exactly what I'm going to say, because my office is in a jurisdiction where if you enter my home or my office unauthorized, and I've warned you not to, I am allowed to defend that property, right? And I'm not talking about the United States. There are a lot of countries out there with full-blown castle law. And yes, I am a licensed gun owner where I am. And yes, I love those. Oh man, I love guns. I love bullets. I love shooting them. And I'm even betting on down and learning how to make my own bullets with the grinder, with those vertical grinders. I'm learning all this stuff. I will use what I have. And I have not 1, but 2 Desert Eagles. Have you ever seen what they do? So everyone, and I think the CRA knows this, and they're not going to step on my property at all. And that is also why it's better for me to be your tax guy, because all of the paperwork that the CRA would normally get from your accountant, who's a complete coward, is protected in a warehouse by security guards with guns. And when I'm in my office, I have mine too. That's how that works. You're not getting in to see the files. So I am protecting your files. Now, we covered about maybe 10 shows ago that the Canada Revenue Agency has a contingency plan for you storing your files outside of Canada. Their contingency plan is they'll ask your permission to go see the files, to which you have the right to say yes or no. And if you say yes, they'll ask you to pay for the plane ticket that you have the right to refuse. And if they do fly to where I am in the world, they still have to get my permission to go into the warehouse to see the files. It doesn't matter that you gave them permission. Yes, they're your files, but it's my warehouse. So you can see why the CRA says in their policy, not the law, but in their policy, that you need to ask the CRA's permission to move all of your tax files out of the country. You don't need anyone's permission to do anything. The only way that those files are going to get stuck in Canada is if they get a court order in one of the superior or supreme courts of the province in which your business resides. And they don't do that because that costs money. And the CRA is not in the business of spending money. They are in the business of stealing money. That's all that they do. They serve no other function. So failure to deduct or remit correctly can trigger large penalties, but that's only if you report. If you actually report your taxes after these new implications are brought into play, if you actually report to the CRA, sure, they're going to send you letters and give you a difficult time and make phone calls. People that don't speak English that you can't understand at all are going to make phone calls demanding money from you. But that's up to you to just not report. And I'm going to show you in just a minute here how you can get away with never having to report taxes again. All right, so let's move on to the next one here. Rules change, but responsibility stays. Again, I did not write this. The CRA put this out to frighten you. While enforcement tightens, the rules are also changing. For 2025, vehicle deductions increase, higher CCA limits, higher lease caps, and higher mileage rates. These updates can help cash flow, but only if your records are clean and your structure is correct. At the same time, Transport Canada is pushing modernization through digital documentation and new security standards. The message is clear: trucking is under review and compliance is no longer optional. Okay, well, I still use markers and pens for notes. I've got a notebook in my office that nobody can hack because it's pen. And I still do a lot of my contracts on paper with pen, so they can't see them. You can't hack that stuff. If you are a trucker and the CRA says you must use their electronic software, you can tell them that they must go to hell. You do not have to do what the CRA says. Again, not without them acquiring a court order, which they won't do. They're going to allow you to have lease caps, and they're going to let you write off a bit more mileage, like maybe an extra couple of pennies per kilometer and whatnot. But this push for modernization will affect you if you don't set your company up properly. So I'd like to now cover what that means, truckers. For all the truckers out there, I know what your industry is like. I do taxes for a lot of logistics companies and a lot of truckers. I know exactly what you're all facing. But here's the good news for every trucking company that we've ever done taxes for. They become profitable within 4 months of becoming a client of mine. We get them back every single penny we possibly can, and we make sure that absolutely every single deduction that they legally can put forward is put forward, and then we actually present that information to the courts. We file the taxes, not just with the CRA, but with the courts. So now the court's got a copy, and if the CRA wants to question what we're doing, they actually would have to sue me, the tax prepper, to try to convince me to go on the stand in court to question me, which of course all of you know I'm not going on the stand in court. I'm not giving the courts the time of day. The Canadian courts are of no value to anyone, especially me, and you all know that. So I will not be playing in that particular arena. So with all you trucking companies out there, this is my proposal. I've covered this type of structure once before, but we're going to do it again now. This is called corporate clustering, everybody. If you have a look at this slide here, you have a trucking company called F.CRA Incorporated. This company here would be the one that you do all of your invoicing out of. This is the one that is just a piece of paper called a corporation. And this is true for my American friends as well. You can do this. It's completely legal. And the IRS has no way to judge it as dodging tax, nor does the CRA, nor does the ATO in Australia, I might add, everybody. So F to CRA is going to write invoices. It's going to write invoices to every single one of your clients. And those invoices are going to go into the bank account of F to CRA 2. That's right. This company here is going to be where your money goes. You're not going to put any money in the first one. You're putting money only into the second one. Then you've got F to CRA 3, and this corporation will own your truck. That's right. So your truck is owned in a completely separate corporation. It is rented, or leased, if you will, to F to CRA 1 for $1 a year. Ergo, it is a holding company that does not make profit. It's genius when you stop and think about it. Then if you wanted to expand, for example, you want to buy a second truck, no problem. That would be F to CRA 4. Thank you. See, I appreciate the hat. And this one here would own the other truck. If you want to have another truck, no problem. You can put a holding company 5, F to CRA 5, and so on. Considering the fact that brand new trucks are between $200,000 and $600,000, depending how many options you put in there. Like, does your truck have a flush toilet? Does your truck have a fridge? Do you have big screen TVs? If you've got the small air conditioning packs, it all ramps up the price. If you're going to sink $600K into a really fancy truck, protect it by putting it into a corporation that rents it to your operations company for $1 a year. It does not make money. Your tax return at the end of the year will be null because it's a hold co, and all the money that you make, you equally distribute it around the other 4 corporations here. And all of you truckers out there can do this. I can set this up for you in just a couple of days. And this way, not only am I protecting you from the CRA's garbage and the CRA's lies, but I'm helping you store all of your money in places that the CRA cannot legally touch. Why? Because if you have a holding company, doesn't matter, Canada, United States, Australia, if you've got a holding company that does not conduct commerce, it's never entered into a contract with anyone. And if there's no contract, nobody can sue it. And if someone does decide to sue your holding company, people, you would just tell the judge, this is a holding company. It's never had a contract with anyone. It never will have a contract with anyone. And that's when the judge is going to say, oh, yeah, you're right. No contract, no case, and just throw the case away. And that is what we do. It's called clustering. We're going to cluster corporations for all you lovely truckers out there. So I am saying this with all sincerity. I feel for you. I know how difficult your job is. You know, my uncle Carl in the province of Ontario was not only a Western Star truck dealer, but he was a truck driver as well. And some of the stories that he told me about being caught in the middle of nowhere in a truck when you've got to get this load, you know, across snow valleys and whatnot. That's crazy. Stories are crazy. You guys go through a lot. So I want truckers out there to keep every single penny that they make. And if I'm your tax guy, then you're absolutely going to keep every single penny that you make. So get a hold of me at kevinjjohnston.com and keep all of your money where it belongs. That's, of course, in your own pocket. All right. I'm going to take care of all your GST and HST filings. I'm going to take care of your payroll. I'll make sure that 100% of what you make is put right back into your hands. In fact, it's never going to leave your hands. That's the truth. You're going to have it, you're going to keep it, and you're going to do whatever you want with it. And I'm going to protect all of my trucker clients from the CRA's overreach in all of this. There is absolutely no right that the Canada Revenue Agency has to dictate the terms to any of you about if you are an employee or if you are an independent operator. Not even the IRS does that in the United States. Think about that, everybody. The next thing would be, one of the protections I'm going to give you is I will become your client. That's correct. If the CRA says, well, you've only got one client, that's when you say, no, I've got 5. I own more than 500 corporations now. You know that I buy corporations that are struggling for a living. We've got a lot of corporations, folks. So any of those corporations can be a client of yours. So here's the deal. Like, think about this. It's completely legal for you as a trucking company to phone me. Like, you hear me out. All right. This is a silly example, but it's legal. If you have a trucking company out there, you are going to have me as a client. You're going to call me and you're going to sing me a lullaby. And if it works and I fall asleep, I'm going to pay you $10,000. Now you cut me an invoice for $10K. Now you got 2 clients. And then you can call my staff and sing them the same song. If they fall asleep, you get more money. You get more invoices. Now you got 3, 4, 5 clients. There you go. I can solve any tax problem in Canada, period, because I know not the loopholes, but I know the law and I know the procedures. All of them. It also might be a wise idea for all you trucking companies out there to make one of these clustered corporations be a holdco in Wyoming. No, I'm a big fan of Wyoming LLCattorney.com. Good guys. They're based in Sheridan, Wyoming. It's like $180 or something for a corporation in the States. It's another $150 for an EIN number, and that's when you can apply for your ITIN number. The EIN is fantastic because it's the FBI just checks your file to make sure that you're not a drug runner or a gun runner or whatnot. And as soon as the FBI clears you, you get the EIN number. Now that EIN number, not right now because America's kind of crazy, but that EIN number gets you the ITIN number. And then with the 2 of those, you can get an E2 visa like that. And an E2 visa will allow you to operate any business in the States for 3 years. And if you've hired an American citizen by the end of the 3rd year, they will renew your E2 for 3 more years, possibly 5, right? Just depends how polite you are in the interview with the government agent. So truckers, there's lots of ways to make money. And there are a ton of ways that I can protect all of you from the CRA. Now, this whole CRA push that they're talking about, this tough guy act that they're putting on for everybody, is extending into crypto hoarders. All right, there you go. HOARD, hoarders. All right, crypto hoarders are guys like me who make crypto. We earn crypto and I keep my crypto. I do not spend my crypto unless someone's going to give me like half price if I spend crypto, in which case you can have my crypto. Fantastic. I am a hoarder. Oops. Sorry about that, guys. Let's get me. And there I am. So a crypto hoarders like myself, I love crypto. I love Bitcoin. I adore it all. I'd actually rather have crypto than even US dollars these days. And the CRA doesn't like guys like me because they know damn well that we are not going to report any of it. And of course, I'm not reporting any of my crypto to the CRA. Why would I do it? I'm not reporting it to anyone. It's mine. I paid for it. I've earned it. I'm storing it somewhere that you're never going to find it. Why would I call the CRA and say, hey guys, I got like Bitcoin and I got like XRP and I got some like Solana and I got some Tron and some XLM, and my friend gave me some Chainlink and I bought Dogecoin when it was like 18 cents. Now it's 24. He. Tax me, please. That's what you're doing. You are calling the CRA and snitching on yourself, and they will, because they don't understand it. They're stupid people, like we've said. They're just going to go ahead and assess you whatever they want, because I guarantee you they don't get it. And they've probably been told, we don't know exactly what they've been told yet, but they've probably been told to just go ahead and assess somebody at double or triple whatever you normally would just because they've got crypto. And that's what everybody goes into panic mode and starts to spill even more beans. And the CRA says, you have crypto. We've judged that you now have capital gains on that crypto. Here's another tax bill. So when you tell them stuff, they're going to find more ways to take your money for you. And for everybody who's got questions and comments, please reserve them. In about 20 minutes, I'm taking questions. So crypto hoarders, transparency is a new baseline. Again, CRA's verbal doo-doo, not mine. Canada is adopting global crypto reporting standards that increase visibility, not taxation. Lies, absolute lies. They want to tax you. Why else would they want to know what you have? They want to tax you. They do not care about the fact that you can't feed your family if they take your money from you. They want to tax you. Crypto exchanges will be required to collect data and report detailed customer transaction data if they're a Canadian exchange. Sure, there was a court order that was brought forward that none of them fought. They should have fought it, but they didn't, because as we've talked about many times, Canadians are cowards, and Canadian businessmen will just capitulate to whatever they're told to do, even though it's their business. And I'll tell you this, folks, if it's my business, under no circumstances am I going to do anything that I am told. Not now and not ever. All right. I'm just sorry, guys. I've switched to satellite internet here. We'll see if that stops the lag. I do apologize for the lag on that. All right. Okay. So, okay. So, I just got a flag on my live here on TikTok. Someone said it was hate speech. I really don't know what I could have said that was hate speech, but it's funny. It backfired. I just got a warning here that the person that flagged it has now actually been blocked from seeing it. I mean, guys, if you don't like looking at this handsome face, leave. If you don't like what I'm saying, leave. I'm not twisting anyone's arm and making any of you stay here. None of you are forced to stay here. All right. If you don't like it, go. That's how that works. All right. So information sharing with other countries begins in 2027. Sure. Okay. They will, the CRA and what are the other guys called? FinTrack. Thank you. They will absolutely, the Canadian government shares your information with every country around the world, just so you know. Canada has always been this way, where the last people on the planet that the Canadian government will protect are Canadians. So if the Americans, the Mexicans, or anyone else says, give us files on your citizens, they just go ahead and do it. Other countries will not be sharing with Canada what all of you are doing outside of Canada, but Canada will absolutely share with them. So please do not do business with Canadian crypto exchanges, and keep your crypto on private hard wallets if you can, unless you're staking or having fun on crypto.com doing day trading and whatnot. The CRA is expanding blockchain tracking and data matching tools. Yeah, not really. They're just not intelligent enough to figure it out. It's going to take 10 years for the CRA to catch up to the rest of the world. I mean, the CRA, once Bitcoin got to $10 per coin, that's when they should have been looking into it. Not now that it's worth about 130,000 Canadian. That was a bad move on their part, but that's good. I love the fact that governments tend to be 10 to 20 years behind the intelligentsia of society. And then it says higher income taxpayers will face a higher capital gains inclusion rate starting in 2026. But here's the problem with crypto. It goes up, it goes down a little bit, back up, and then down, and then back up. So who's to say what the value of the coin was when the CRA decides to tell you they're going to tax you on it? Bitcoin goes from 25,000 to 150,000 in an example. Let's say you bought at 25,000. It goes to 150. So you've got this massive capital gain of about $120,000. So they tax you on the capital gain of $120,000, but then tomorrow, it goes right down. And tomorrow, when let's just say it goes right down, they taxed you at the peak, and now you're down at the bottom. And yes, Cold MacQ, I guess it is, they tax you when you sell. But the problem with the CRA for all of us is that they'll just lie and say you sold. Right. So it's not like they actually care that you sold or didn't sell. They're just going to tell you that you did. And when they do that, now you've got to object and then take them to tax court. All right. So, folks, please, if you have crypto, be silent about it. Do not blab about what you have. It's the same idea as buying a new car. Don't take photos of your new car and throw it on Facebook and throw it on Instagram and so on. You're going to incite jealousy and people will try to hurt you. They'll probably go scratch your car. You never know who in your private circles actually secretly hates you. Oh, look, John got a new car. Let's scratch it with a can opener. That was a big thing in the 70s. Oh, and the CRA is going to look at your social media and say, oh, well, okay, yeah, he's got a new car. Let's audit him. Let's see if we can scare him with threats and start asking questions. How'd you buy the new car? Where'd you get the money? They word it that way. You're obligated to tell us these things. All right. So that's the first part of this crypto information. The next thing would be, and this, again, the CRA says this, not me. Crypto is a long-term asset, not a trade. Well, yes, I agree with that. For me, it's for the rest of my life. I fully intend to hang on to everything I've got. I'm willing to bet the crypto I have today that might be worth $500,000 is probably going to be worth about 75 million in 15 years. I'm absolutely positive of that. And in that level of time, I'll be 70 years of age and I'm going to be completely fed up with all of humanity. And I'll be one of those guys that buys maybe 7,000 acres of land. It'll be me and my dog. And I'm going to be left alone, right? And with that 75 million bucks, I could do crazy things like hire a helicopter to fly my favorite pizza to Wyoming from Florida. That's the kind of stuff I'd probably do with my money. And crypto is going to help me get there, which is why I will not be spending it and I will not be reporting it. So CRA says, we view cryptocurrency as a long-term store of value, not a short-term gamble. Buying crypto with the goal of holding, not flipping, changes the entire tax conversation. Holding assets does not trigger tax in Canada. Strategy begins with intent. When crypto is treated like digital property rather than trading inventory, it opens the door to do better planning and fewer taxable events. Yeah, how about zero taxable events? How about shut up? How about we just stop talking about what we have. It would be a great idea if all of us could just resist the urge to brag about what we have. And I've made it very clear, everyone, that yes, okay, I am a millionaire, but I have deliberately taken all my liquid cash and turned all of it into property, which I in turn rent out for more liquid cash, which I in turn will invest immediately into more property. I don't need 10 million bucks of cash lying around like those Arab dudes. Have you seen these guys where they're sitting in a room and they've got 7 skids of $100 bills and they're just throwing it in the air? It's real too, because you can tell like these rich dudes out there who invested in oil 20 years ago are flaunting it. But that liquid cash isn't making you money. Money needs to make you money. You can't make money if it's in cash on your living room floor. All right. So let's move on to the next slide here. Don't sell the asset, use the asset. All right, let's see what they say here. Selling crypto triggers tax. If you use a Canadian exchange and you brag about it and you tell the CRA, sure, yeah, that's true. If you remain silent, it's not true. Using crypto strategically does not have to. Instead of selling, long-term holders may stake their crypto or use it as collateral to access liquidity. Well, of course we would do that. There are banks now in Latin America and South America that will take crypto, not all of them, but some of them, as collateral for you to buy a house. So you paid for the house in its entirety, and now you have to pay the bank back to get your crypto back. All right, isn't that amazing? Borrowing against an asset is generally not a taxable event, which allows access to capital without triggering capital gains. This is a common wealth strategy used with real estate. Crypto is no different when structured correctly. And that is exactly what I have been saying all along, everyone, is that all of us out there need to utilize everything that we have available to us to make more money. And this is where the boomers irritate me. They do. Where the boomers bought a house in 1965 and they bought it for $15,000. And now that same house is worth $1.2 million. So they're proud of themselves. I've got a house worth $1.2 million. Yes, you've lived in it for 50 years and you're going to die in it. And where does the equity go? Where does that money go? What benefit is that money to you when you're a corpse? Zero. It goes to your next of kin. They benefit from what you did. So why not take a loan against the property and buy 2 more houses and rent them out? If things get a bit harsh, sell one, pay the 2 houses off, and start the process over. Boomers don't think like this. It's actually almost impossible to get people who don't have a business mind over the age of 50 to even consider borrowing against their house to buy more property. I would never say borrow against your house to buy TVs and cars and whatnot. That's stupid. Borrow against your house to be able to buy more houses. Rent them out to other people who then pay those mortgages off. That's a sound strategy. If you have crypto, invest it, stake it. If you want to, trade it, do whatever else. But for the love of God, please do not tell the IRS about it. Please do not tell the ATO about it. Please don't tell the CRA about it, because they're just going to find a way to take it. All right. You hide what you got in this lifetime or you lose it. Sad, but true. Next, custody, control, and protection matter. So how and where you hold crypto is just as important as what you buy. Use a hard wallet, and that gives you direct control and reduces reliance on third parties. Yes, you want to get yourself a really sturdy hard wallet made by a high-end manufacturer that's got 5-star reviews right across the board. And you want to make sure that nobody knows you have it. All right, except your next of kin, but you don't give them the 10-word phrase. You'd give the 10-word phrase to your lawyer, and your lawyer would then present that to your kids upon your death. You could certainly do it that way. Many clients also choose to use exchanges outside of Canada for diversification and operational reasons. Always have your crypto outside of Canada. The objective is protection and flexibility, ensuring the asset is secure from exchange, exposure, and evolving regional government policies. Well, with my crypto being on a hard wallet stored somewhere that you'll never find it, I'm not subject to anyone's policies, and I will not tell you how much I have. I will not tell you what coins I've got. I will not tell you if it's on a hard wallet or if it's on a digital wallet or if it's on a custodial wallet. I'm not telling you anything. It's none of your business. It's none of the CRA's business. And you can spare me the notion that I have some type of civic duty as a Canadian citizen to tell the Canadian government what I'm doing. The Canadian government has already proven to all of us that they are absolutely incompetent, untrustworthy, and are going to give all of our money away to countries we've never heard of for no reason whatsoever than to launder money and pad their own pockets, which is exactly what the Democrat Party was doing with Biden in office and exactly what the Mexican government's doing now. Countries do this. Select governments will come in here and absolutely rip everybody off, move money out of the country, and then they end up being worth millions. Like Ilhan Omar. How was she worth like $40,000 when she became a senator? And now she's worth $240 million. What happened? Well, hopefully she gets investigated. How did Trudeau go from being worth nothing to being worth over $500 million? Some crimes took place there, everybody. Think about that. Alrighty. Next, we have the CRA's focus on IT. That's correct. If you are in the IT industry, the vast majority of you in IT, Canada, United States, and in Australia, all of you have a corporation and you don't have any employees because you, as a corporation, are billing your clients and you're living out of the corporation's account. Not illegal. The IRS might give you a tough time about it, but it's still not illegal. CRA can't do anything about it at all. So the CRA is modernizing how IT companies are taxed in the digital economy. New rules focus on digital platforms, online services, and cross-border sales, while expanding the CRA's information gathering powers, and at the same time, targeted incentives are being introduced for clean technology. This is not about punishing innovation. This is not about encouraging innovation. It's about increased visibility, data access, and oversight by the CRA. This is about stagnation of the human race. That's what this is. If you don't have good IT people around the world, then you don't have Netflix. Not that Netflix is important, but you don't have Prime Video and Disney Plus, and you don't get to see ESPN or ESPN 2, 3, or 4. You don't get to see any of this. You don't get your YouTube. You don't get your internet fix. If you don't have good IT people, banks shut down. IT individuals are absolutely necessary. And if the Canada Revenue Agency is going to tell you that you must contribute to green energy programs, which are all a scam, by the way, and they've all failed, you're going to probably walk away from the industry. If you're told that now you can no longer invoice your client and write off everything that you do, you're probably just going to quit, go on welfare, or leave the country. People in IT need to be left alone to do what they do best because hospitals use them. Manufacturing plants use them. The military uses IT people. NASA does. All right. Canada doesn't have a space program. So I'd say that, I don't know, Dairy Queen uses them. Everybody needs a good IT guy. And a good IT guy is now about to be punished for being good at their job. So IT people, I will do your taxes. You'll never pay tax again if I am your tax guy. Next, the digital economy and platform reporting. Digital platform operators must report seller information to the CRA. No, you have the right to remain silent, everybody. You have the right to remain silent. I would never in this lifetime snitch on a client or a supplier of mine. They ask questions, I tell them the same thing. Talk to my lawyer and get lost. You can do the same thing. The police, when they arrest you, they have guns. They say you have the right to remain silent. What would make you think you don't have the right to remain silent when some jerk from the CRA calls you and says, give me information? Exercise your right to remain silent. That's America too, by the way. Non-resident IT companies may need to register, collect, and remit GST and HST. Okay, that one is fair. So if you're going to be an IT company and you're a foreigner or a landed immigrant or whatever your status is, you get a HST or GST number. Well, that's what everybody else does. And the advantage is every time you lose money, you get HST or GST back. So it's really not that bad a thing to have an HST or GST number if you know what you're doing. And it just so happens I know what I'm doing in the taxation game. This applies to SaaS marketplaces, apps, and digital service providers. Again, if I was selling an app, which I probably will be at some point this year, don't think for an instant I'm telling anybody who bought it. You're my customers. You are counting on me when you're buying anything from me to shut up about who you are and what I'm doing for you. And that's exactly what I'm going to do by not cooperating with the CRA or any branch of the Canadian government. And I recommend highly that none of you do the same thing. All right. So in the digital marketplace, if you are selling anything to anyone, be silent. You don't have to share this information with anyone. Thank you, Cheryl. Designed to level the playing field between Canadian and foreign platforms. No, it's not, because the foreigners will just yell racism and they won't get charged tax. So that means the CRA is not going to get any money from them. So they will chase the Canadian-born people. It's just going to keep getting worse if you let them. Make me your tax guy. You'll never pay tax again as an IT guy. Next, mandatory disclosure rules, MDR. Oh, they even gave it a short form. Whoa. New rules require disclosure of certain high-risk transactions and uncertain tax positions. I am not disclosing anything to anyone at any time, period. You can't threaten me. The Canadian government's already tried that. It didn't work. I'm not interested in doing anything for free. And when the CRA decides they want to contact me and they say they want something from me, I say, no problem. What's your Visa number? I'll run the Visa card for $5,000 and I'll get you what you need within 3 days. And they always say, well, we don't pay for anything. It's your obligation. No, it's not. I do not have an obligation to anyone who is not paying me to do the job. And I will never accept that. And I will never agree to it, even if there is a court order in place telling me that I must. Forget it. My biggest concern is getting rich, which means I must protect my client base at all costs. And I'm telling all of you out there, you got to protect yours. Because if I found out that any of you out there that I'm shopping from or buying from is sharing my information with anybody, you'll never see me again. I'm done. I'll send you a notice of liability telling you to destroy all my records, and that I will threaten you with legal action, and I will carry it out if you do decide that you want to share my information. I'm not doing it. I'm not putting anybody in a bad position, period. So this targets complex or aggressive tax planning structures. Yeah, I've got the most aggressive tax planning structures in the history of Canada. Not one call from the cops, not one court injunction, not one threat from the CRA, nothing. They got nothing because they are nothing. They are nobody. They have no right to force me to do anything. Keep that in mind. They don't come at me with anything. If you behave the same way that I do, they'll leave you alone as well. And this increases transparency without banning legitimate planning. No, it increases transparency so they can ban you from making money. This whole thing is about stopping you from making money. Forget it. Stop squealing on yourself. Stop filling out this paperwork. Let me look at it. Let me do it. Let me use my hyperthyroid, hypermasculine, hyper-aggressive, hyper, whatever you want to call it, tax strategies, hyper everything. If it's to my client's benefit, I'm doing it. If it's to the CRA's benefit, I'm going to counter it. That's the way that we all have to treat the CRA, the ATO, and the IRS, who have overstepped their bounds time and time again. Number 4, clean technology investment tax credit. Oh, geez, yeah. Okay, so here we go. Refundable tax credits for investments in clean technology. They almost never give you back the credits that you're asking for, ever. The credits that I've gotten back successfully for clients, who, especially people that don't make a lot of money, would be the GST credit, which is about $350 a year, and the carbon tax credit, about $750 a year. That's about it. So if you're going to invest in green energy, I promise you, you're going to lose the investment money because it's going nowhere. And the CRA may give you a tax credit, and then again, they may not. And when they do, they're going to find some way to change their mind in the following tax year and assess you at a higher amount because they say they've got the right to do it, which anyone's got the right to change something on a piece of paper, but you've got the right to object and appeal and drag them through the courts. Alrighty. So let's move on to our last slide here for IT companies. What the CRA wants IT companies to do. Most CRA business communication moves to it's called the My Business Account. That's what it's called. And the My Business Account is what they want everybody to be in. Now, the only reason I like it is you can get messages from them quick. And if you've got that account opened up, you get your taxes looked at faster. If your accountant also utilizes electronic filing. But beyond that, they are wanting to police how often you get in there and what you read. They'll just keep sending you more and more threats and so on. If you don't want a My Account, you don't have to have a My Account. Paper mail will no longer be the default. Right, but you can still request it, and they're going to have to give it to you. Reviewing a GST and HST exposure on digital sales, which they tried to do. They tried very hard, I might add, to get Shopify, that massive company based in Ottawa, to divulge all of their clients and all their financial records to the CRA. And Shopify took them to court and won thoroughly. Now the CRA has absolutely no right whatsoever to blanket request anything. Every time they blanket request something, or if the CRA just requests anything in general, you can say, that's a blanket request. You lost the case. Shopify versus Canada Revenue Agency. No, we will not be cooperating today. Thank you very much. If Shopify can do it, so can any of you. Understanding MDR exposure before transactions occur. Well, let's just understand this. If you've got yourself an e-commerce store, just be quiet about it. Just shut up. Keep the money, man. They're just going to keep taking it. And they're going to keep giving it to Zelensky and all the warlords in Africa and all the warlords in Southeast Asia. I've been to these countries. I know where Canada's tax dollars are going. It's not to Canadians. It's to warlords all over the world. Don't give it to them. Keep your mouth closed. And then it says, track clean tech investments. What clean tech are we talking about here? You want to buy windmills that make a ton of noise and kill a ton of birds and recoup, maybe, if you're lucky, recoup the cost and resources to build them in 25 years. But the problem is they don't last 25 years. If the wind picks up and the brakes fail, what happens? They fly apart, and pieces of these things will fly 2 or 3 kilometers at a time, especially if the windmill was spinning at 100 miles an hour, which it's on YouTube. Just watch what happens to a windmill that's 150 feet tall when the brakes fail. And the brakes fail all the time. Solar panels, sure, if you put solar panels on your garage and the roof of your house and in your backyard, in the summer months, you can power your house entirely. In the winter months, not so lucky, which means these massive solar farms out there that they're putting together, where they're using monumental amounts of silver, driving the price of silver up, I might add. But these massive 50 and 60 acre solar farms might feed 100 houses of power. It's just not good enough. That is the problem. You've got wave generation machines which sit on the surface of the ocean, and when the ocean waves move, there's generators attached down on the ocean floor that generate power. Not effective. Doesn't do the job. Hydroelectric power works, like Niagara Falls, for example, generates a ton of power. So does the American side. They in the Niagara Falls area, They generate power. Panama has a ton of waterfalls that they're generating hydropower on. So if you can find a way to make waterfalls spin turbines, that is reliable green energy. I would invest in dams before I would invest in solar or windmills or ocean wave machines and so on. And I most certainly am not going to be investing in nuclear fusion technology, because the longest fusion reaction human beings have ever been able to maintain was less than 1 second. You're not going to make money on it. Sure, you're contributing to research and development, but you're not going to make money on it. It's the same idea as I'm not investing in any of these quantum teleportation companies. And yes, they exist right now because the Americans managed to teleport one atom. Yes, actually one electron, not even an atom. They are teleporting electrons 5 kilometers. How is that going to make me money? Cool. That's really cool. That's scientifically awesome. But it's not going to buy me a car. It's not going to get me more condos. It's not going to buy me land. I will not make money on these investments. So with this green energy push in Canada, you're going to lose. Stay away from that garbage. Work on you. Make sure that I'm your tax guy, and you will never in this lifetime pay tax again. Jay Legacy says, invest in AI and into robots. Yes, I could, and I would consider investing in robots, but it would have to be for something exceptionally niche that would net a lot of money per robot. And I'd also have to make sure that what I'm investing in would be, we'll call it free proofing, because what ends up happening is every brand new technology out there eventually does get reverse engineered and becomes pennies on the dollar to create in comparison to the original. I mean, who remembers when Space Invaders came out? It took a little while for Asteroids to come out. It was better than Space Invaders. There's always going to be someone who builds it better for cheaper. And that's something that I would be concerned about investing in robots, is someone is going to cook up something a whole lot better in the future, and that investment would go the way of the dodo. There is a movie that all of you should watch. It's called BlackBerry. It's about the BlackBerry, the handheld device that was the baby there of Mike Lizardis, is it? And what's the guy's name? The bald guy's name, Jim Balsillie. It's a good movie, and in there, you get a lot of really good information about how the company rose and fell. And there's a comment, I'm not going to spoil it for you, but there's a comment that's made towards the end of the movie that blew my mind. And that's about when to buy and when to sell. The movie's great. The guy that they got to play Jim Balsillie, absolute maniac. Who's fantastic. All right, so we're up to the question period now. Thank you for listening to my last hour diatribe here. Yeah, John, BlackBerry, the movies, I loved it. I loved every minute of it. All right, so Sia says, I'd like to invest in a man robot. He can serve me 24/7. Okay, I would like the same type of thing, but I would like one that's just gender neutral so I don't get distracted. Just one that looks like something out of Star Wars that has no masculine, no feminine. I tell it, clean the floors, do the dishes, barbecue some chicken for me, go on the charger and shut up for the next 3 hours. That would be fantastic. That's not necessarily pie in the sky, but that's not today. Jarmy says, what can be done if you're being audited for capital gains on the sale of a house? Shut up. The first thing you do is not report the capital gain. You're under no legal obligation to ever report a capital gain. But at this particular point, if the auditor is on your property, I would issue them a letter, a cease and desist notice, banning them from your property and ever speaking to you again for the rest of your life. We can do that. Then we will inform the CRA that we will conduct the audit for them. Just tell us what you're looking for, and we'll make sure that it's included in the package that we send to you. So I'll get rid of the auditor for you. That's how that works. Kent. All right. Kent, get a hold of me Thursday. Kent, I can talk to you Thursday morning. Appreciate that, brother. Michelle, CRA is asking me to pay $15,000 on a business that I didn't track books for. what do? You sell me that corporation. I'm going to remove you as the director. I'm going to look at your books. The odds are pretty good that you weren't the director for the last 2 to 3 years. I'll be able to provide evidence to that effect, and the debt is going to be gone. It's going to be my debt. You'll never have to worry about that again. Head over to, for anybody who wants to sell me a corporation with debt, or anybody who wants me to take over their GST and their payroll, get a hold of me on my website right now, please. It's Kevin, my name, Kevin J Johnston. That's JOHNSTON.com. All right, head on over there and let me know exactly how it is that I can help you make a whole lot more money. All right, next batch of questions here. Do you have to pay capital gains if you sell a house in Mexico? Well, you would have to abide by the laws of Mexico, but if you have property outside of Canada, why would you tell the CRA that? You're under no legal obligations to tell the CRA about houses or money or property or anything else outside of Canada. Why? Shut up about what you own. That's your house in Mexico. Keep it. If you're going to sell it and your Mexican accountant, hopefully he's a good one, explains that you don't have to report a capital gain, put the money in your pocket and go have a good time. 2K. I'll be pulling my Bitcoin out of Wealthsimple and move to Coinbase. Make sure that it's an American exchange. Better yet, go with the Singaporeese. You got to deal with the exchanges out there that have nothing to do with Canada. I also would highly recommend, if you're not staking and you're not doing super earns or superchargers or anything else in your with your crypto, I would highly recommend that you put it onto a cold storage wallet and keep your mouth closed about where that is. All right, everyone. Girl 31. Hi, I owe CRA for business GST and payroll tax about $180,000. Same thing. Girl 31. I want you to get a hold of me on my website right now, please. All right, head over to the contact page, or actually, there is a corporate purchase page on my website. Fill out the form. And myself or Tim is going to get back to you right away. But just make sure it's my website. I do not take money through social media. I am not on Telegram. I am not on Signal. The scammers out there are using Telegram to get money from you. I do not talk to anybody on Telegram. It's all through my private Zoom channel. And if you're not talking to me face to face, please don't hand anybody money for any of this. Remember what we said, folks? Do your own security. When I am talking to you in a chat room, a private chat room, ask me to show you my mouse, the blue camouflage mouse, because the AI guys out there won't be able to do this with the mouse. Kevin, take a sip of water. No problem. Here we go. The AI bots and the AI characters that they're using simply cannot do it. Hey, Kevin, why don't you put on your really cool New Year's Eve glasses just to prove that you're not an AI figure? Actually, I like these. These are pretty cool. No problem. I'll go ahead and put these glasses on so that all of you out there wanting to do business with me know that you're talking to me and not to AI. I've seen some of the deep fakes of me, and they're somewhat convincing for the untrained eye and for those who are desperate. Do not let your desperation get the best of you. Everything is done through my website. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you for the hat. See ya. Greatly appreciate that. How to hold coins outside of Canada. Crypto.com and Binance have been pretty good to me. I have no complaints about either one of those. I mean, I don't store a lot of crypto in non-custodial wallets like that, but Crypto.com is one where I'll put crypto in and out all the time, simply because it is so much fun to trade on Crypto.com. They've got promotions all the time where you'll buy a junk coin, but they'll give you 32% earnings on it over the course of 4 months. The only issue is, can that junk coin be sold back in for equity? Who knows? But I do enjoy all of that. It's kind of like day trading. All right, so 2K, what's the name of that exchange? Just told you. Go ahead and have a look at those. All right. Yeah, cold wallets are the best, everybody. And you've got your keys. In most cases, it's just a 10-word phrase that's completely grammatical nonsense. And, memorize it if you can. But one of the things you can do is you can open up email accounts. That would be something crazy like XXX4299TTXYEI0014 and then you could take a photo of those words, or what you would do is cut them with scissors, like write everything down, cut the paper with scissors, take a picture of each word, and email each word to yourself in the appropriate order. So now you know that you can go into one of those Gmail accounts and see the phrase if you forgot it, or you lost your notebook, or I don't know, you got kicked in the head and kind of lost all focus. These are tricks of the trade where you can hide legal documents in there. I actually hide a lot of legal documents in email accounts because they're date stamped. So if I ever had to prove something in a court of law, I could say, Your Honor, I'd like to log into my email address and prove to you that I emailed myself June 3rd, 2019. Obviously, he's going to grant permission. We log in and show it to them. There is no way for me to fake when I'm actually logged in the date that an email arrived. All right. 2K says, I'm not a tech savvy person, so saving on a wallet's too complicated. That's why you use Wealth. Okay. Wealth Simple reports everything to the CRA. Please stay away from them. Go to crypto.com. They at least are not talking to the CRA. Spooks says, if the executor of an estate sells the house and don't report the capital gains, will they find out? Yes, if you tell them. That's it. If you tell them, they'll know. All right, let's check YouTube. Have a look here. All right. Just checking it out here. All right, so we don't have any questions on YouTube, but we got some comments. We do appreciate the comments. Thank you. All right, looks like Rumble just got really busy here. Devin Copiete, is it true the statutes create the statutory creatures, but in good conscience and good faith, people do not have to act as statutory creatures? All right, I get where you're going with that. It's simply a matter of who does the statute apply to and who does the act apply to. Laws of the land, like criminal laws, pertain to each and every one of us. But the Income Tax Act and a lot of these statutes out there do not pertain to we the people. They pertain to the agents of the government office in which they were written for. So the Income Tax Act in Canada pertains to the CRA, not to you and me, which is why when the CRA sends letters out saying, we demand your help enforcing the Income Tax Act, you can make a phone call and say a whole bunch of crass and vulgar stuff and tell them that you're not going to cooperate. I mean, I think all of you saw that letter where I invited the auditor to hungrily dine on what I leave behind in the toilet. He didn't like that very much, but he stopped calling me when he realized that he wasn't going to be able to intimidate me or anyone on my team. Fit Chick says, my friend has a suite in her house and was thinking about renting it again. Does she need extra rental inns for her suite? Yeah, okay. Shut up about your rental suites. If you're renting out your garage, quiet. If you're renting out your basement, quiet. Pocket the money and be silent about it. It's your place. The world is at war. There's so much crazy nonsense in the world right now that nobody is really all that concerned about the extra $7,000 a year that you make. If you keep your mouth closed, you're going to be just fine. All right. As for a fiduciary responsibility, everybody, none of you have a fiduciary responsibility to the Canada Revenue Agency or any branch of government. A fiduciary responsibility would be something like this. You own an armored car company, and you've been contracted by the Bank of Montreal to transport $15 million in cash from a branch in Montreal to a branch in Toronto, and the truck breaks down. You have a fiduciary responsibility to get that truck back on the road and get that delivery done as soon as possible, hopefully within your contract time so you don't receive penalties. You can't just abandon the truck and leave the money in the truck. Believe me, you'll pay the price for something like that. In the case where I had a web design business. I had about 700 people that I was hosting websites for, and I sent out a message to everyone saying, I'm selling the company, and the new owner is Dion Fallier, and he's going to contact you as quickly as he possibly can. And I cannot and will not be held accountable for any decisions that he makes in reference to your hosting. So I said that you can make a deal with Dion now, or you have the right to take your websites and go, and I will assist everyone who wants to move their websites now. And that was something that even Dion, the new owner of the company, wants me to do. And I got this lengthy letter from an armored car company telling me that I had a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that his website stayed up because he had paid me for a 1-year contract. He didn't have the contract with me. He had the contract with the corporation. So the corporation, I pointed that out to the new owner. I said, if this guy is going to say this, there's going to be others. If I were you, after you take over this corporation, I'd keep the servers running. And it turns out that one letter about fiduciary responsibility worked quite well. But my corporation did have one. I do not have a contract with the CRA. I don't want to talk to these people. I want nothing to do with them. I don't want to give my money away to someone because they say I must. I do not have any fiduciary responsibilities to the CRA. If anything, they've got a duty to me, and that duty is to go the hell away and never come back. Fit Chick says, my gym buddy's friend is around $300,000 in corporate debt from her ex-business partner who racked up the corporate credit card. Can you help her and prevent bankruptcy? Yes, so long as that credit card was not guaranteed personally, I can buy the corporation and that entire corporate debt load will come over to me. And then the credit card company will have to chase me as the new owner of that corporation. The answer is yes. Hey, Kevin, Mr. Giggle says, hey, Kevin, have you heard of companies selling memberships on just gold and silver? I have. I'm not interested in that particular program, mainly because I do trade in precious metals only. If I can't touch the metal and clack it in my teeth and tap my spectrometer on it to ensure its purity, then I don't want it. I don't get into paper, gold, and silver at all. Unless, and only unless, I'm utilizing XAU as a way to move millions of dollars from one country to another, in which case, yes, I will buy paper gold and paper silver, but only for 24 hours before it turns back into cash. Carl V77, question, are group sessions sold out? No, we have 20 group sessions left for the last Wednesday of this month. If anybody would like to have a group session, you can get over to my website, kevinjjohnston.com right now. The group sessions are only $250. They're a lot of fun. 30 is the limit. That's it. I give between a 15 and 30-minute lecture on tax, and then I take a question from everybody. And in most cases, we find that everybody who's in the room together, when they're listening to the answers to these questions, I'm answering at least 5 to 10 questions as I go through it for absolutely everyone that they cared about. It's a lot. I thoroughly enjoy it, actually. It's a private session. We do not ever post any of that online. We destroy everything when we're finished with it. I only put it in there in case somebody comes up with a really good idea. We record it in case someone has a really good idea. And if the person wants a copy of it afterwards, then obviously it's got to be edited out so only their face shows up. And there's a charge for that because editing sucks. It takes a long time to do. So yeah, join us in those sessions, guys. It's a really good time. Alrighty. Chuck Buckshot. Okay, Chuck, I need you to go to my website, Chuck, right now, kevinjjohnston.com. Go to the contact page and just put down Chuck Buckshot in the subject line. I'm going to have Randy get back to you this evening, like right away, right after the show. You're going to hear from us. All right. So thank you for pointing that out to me. I do appreciate it. All right. Who's next? What's the cost for me to buy the business if you owe $150K? So the way that it works, everyone, is I'm buying your company from you for $1 because I have to give you something to make the deal legitimate. And then what's going to happen here is you're going to sell me everything, all the assets, the trademarks, and all the debt, of course, everything. Every liability is my responsibility at that point because that is what I do. I buy responsibility. and then you're going to buy back all of your assets and operations from me and move them into a new corporation for 20% of the value of the entire debt load. And the debt load is payroll, GST, HST, PST, municipal fines, corporate income tax, corporate credit cards, corporate bank accounts, if it's a corporate debt, I take the corporate debt from each and every one of you, all of it, every single penny. Head over to my website right now, click on corporate purchase, and go ahead and fill out the form. Okay, could everybody, Jason's asking for the website, could everybody please go ahead and type in my domain name, www.kevinjjohnston with the T.com. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, so everybody who knows my website address, please go ahead and put it up in the chat for everyone else to see. Appreciate that. John asks me, why doesn't crypto.com report to the CRA? Because they're in Singapore. Why would they report to the CRA? They have offices in the United States, but they're not obligated to talk to the Canadian, any Canadian entity for that matter. Canada's courts have no jurisdiction outside of Canada. If I was to get something here in Panama from the Canadian court, I'd call the courts and I'd say, I'm going to object to this and appeal it. And in the meantime, expect no cooperation whatsoever from me. Mr. Buddy says, if I did my income tax and owe money, do I have to pay it? There's no jail time if you don't pay it. What they'll do, though, is that they'll say that there's penalties and they'll keep adding interest forever. But what I could do is redo that income tax year and wipe out the income tax that you're owed, or we could wipe out the income tax that you're owed in the following tax year. There is no debtor's prison in Canada. You cannot do jail time for owing money to anyone in Canada. You can do jail time for breaking into someone's house and stealing it, but you don't do jail time for owing it. All right. Jay, don't appreciate that comment. Legal fees have gotten really expensive these days. I'm pretty sure you know how crazy the world is. So why would we not up the price for 2026 to accommodate all those legal fees? It's a lot of money. We pay a lot of money to lawyers, a lot. And there's only a few good ones out there. So when you find a good lawyer, you keep them on staff. All right. Canadian loyalist. Why do you buy corporate debt? Because there's profit in it. Everything I do makes money. Why do we do payroll for people? Because we turn profit. Why do we take care of people's GST reporting? Because we turn profit. Why do I help Canadians move their money here to Panama and buy Panamanian properties? Because we turn profit. I'm a businessman. I'm in this to make money. I mean, I love you all, but I gotta eat, as they say. And I also have a mandate to have a net worth of 100 million US dollars. That would be the number that I would consider retirement money, because at that particular point, I would have the money to be the most obnoxious man on the planet if I chose to be. I want the freedom to do so. We call that FU money. Now, when you can be in a position to just take $50,000 in cash and light it on fire to impress your friends, I want to be that wealthy where that would be like dropping a nickel on the ground and just forgetting about it. Not saying that I would burn $50,000, because you can always do a lot with $50,000. I just want to be that wealthy where 50 grand is nothing to me. So Canadian loyalist, I do everything for profit, but we are doing God's work in that when I do buy a corporation, thank you for the cat, when I do buy a corporation from someone that's in debt, they are completely out of debt. They get to start over and have themselves a brand new life tax-free forever. What's a good lawyer? One who's not afraid of the Bar Association, one who's not afraid to go against their oath to the crown, and one who's not afraid of the CRA, and one who thinks that working with me is the bee's knees, as they call it. My criminal lawyer has been my criminal lawyer now for almost 5 years. He's on retainer. His job is to listen to all of my wild and crazy ideas and to inform me that they are not illegal by trying to make what I propose illegal. If he cannot make it illegal, then we go right ahead and we do it. Who pays off the debt? Who pays off what debt? Debt is a commodity, my friend. I buy, sell, and trade debt. No one pays it off. The debt gets transferred and sold. That's what happens. It's a very complex thing for me to go out of my way to explain to you how debt is a commodity. I would have to do a full 1 hour lecture on that, possibly a full 2 hour show. But believe me when I say this, it's highly profitable to buy debt, to amalgamate debt, to sell debt. And I thoroughly enjoy what I do. Jason, I'm not too sure what you're asking me here. Why don't you go ahead and throw the question into my website, please? That way I can address it when I'm a bit more focused on email. Do you have a contact of a good lawyer? Well, is it George or George? I do. I've got a great criminal lawyer that I could put you in touch with, and I've got a really good corporate lawyer that I could put you in touch with. But if you're going to be dealing with me in any particular way, he will not be able to represent both you and me. It's called a conflict of interest. And the Bar Association doesn't like that. But yes, there are interesting individuals that I know. And in many cases, you don't actually need a lawyer for a lot of things. A paralegal or a legal agent or somebody who's a licensed, what do you call those? Municipal offenses officer. These people here have like this much authority to go into courthouses and do things that I don't have time to do. So there's a lot. I've got a big team of people. It's not just one guy. Okay, Jay says moving to Panama would be a blessing because you can actually make a life there. I've made an incredible life for myself here. I'm not even 2 years in the country. I'm a millionaire, and I've got great friends, great colleagues, great cohorts. I own properties now all over the city, and I'm in the midst of opening up a restaurant this year, and I'm looking to buy 2,000 acres of land. This is just what you can do in a country that's prosperous and in a Christian country that has one unified culture. When a country has one culture, it thrives. Panama is rich. There's money everywhere. And the fact that I'm making money, but not really spending it. I'm buying property, but I'm not out there blowing it on stupid crap. I'm not a gambler, so you're not going to find me walking into a casino with a stack of cash like this and trading it in for chips and then leave the chips behind when I lose. That's not what I do. And I'm not into, strippers and all that nonsense. So I'm not blowing thousands of dollars on wild parties where everyone's doing lines of coke in the bathroom and on the table and on the floor and on everywhere else. I'm not into that nonsense. And I'm also the kind of guy who's quite happy to have a chicken breast and a salad made by a local Panamanian who charges $3 for that, $3.50 if I have a coffee with it. Yeah, I'm living the life that I want to live down here. And it's entirely possible, especially if you have simple taste like I do. Yeah, no, Jay, I'm not upset. Jay, I'm not upset in any particular way. It's a matter of you're asking a question here that needs a bit of an explanation, but it's more of a private matter. So I would rather you talk to me privately in email on that one, if you don't mind. Doc Zach says you're awesome. Well, thanks, Doc. Certainly do appreciate that. It's always fabulous to be appreciated by everyone when I am going out of my way to educate you, because I want you all educated so you don't make blunders. Superman is asking, where are good locations in Panama City to live for rental or for investment? Right now, Southwest Panama City is being gentrified on a weekly basis. Great place to invest in. Panama has an unusual thing that happens, though. Condos will do this up and down. So what you got to do is buy a few condos when the market's low. The market will shift and go high. You want to sell when they're high, and then you want to wait for it to go low and buy more. It's up and down. A lot of people can't handle that kind of volatility in the market. And that's not all areas. That's just select areas of Panama City. You just need to know which areas they are, which of course I do. And you need to know when to buy and when to sell. You can do very well doing all of that. All righty. Question. If the CRA has a writ on a house, is it necessary for all the amounts related to the writ be under objection to get the writ off? Can we hire your team to get the writ off? Okay, that's a great question. Clause 7 of the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights states that you do not owe any tax dollars while those tax amounts are in dispute. So what we need to do is bring everything into dispute by taking them to court, but not tax court. We're talking real court. We file a motion with the court to show the judge that we redid your taxes. Here's the correct taxation number. Clause 7 states that we don't owe money. Could you please offer us a stay on their decision? And the judge, of course, will ask, is there a representative of the CRA here? Nobody will say yes. And thus you will get the writ lifted until the CRA allows the third party hearing to take place. That's where tax court comes in. So yes, we can do that. We can also get your taxes redone just to wipe out the tax debt in the first place. How long does it take to get reimbursed from the CRA? If we do your taxes electronically, could be 2 weeks, not likely, mostly 6 to 8 weeks if it's that way. If it all gets sent in on paper, then you're going to be looking at anywhere between 6 and 18 months. They're really taking their time with paper returns. Do I rent any of my properties? I do. I've got one available right now that I think about it. Yes, I do. Actually, the one I've got available for rent right now faces the Panama Canal and faces downtown. It's a 270-degree arc of vision with a rooftop pool. So you might want to check it out. It's in a fantastic area where you can go to one street and have dinner for $3, or go 4 streets over and have dinner for $100 in the really, really, really expensive part of town. It's up to you. You pick. Middle class, lower class, upper class. I live in an area where I can decide and just walk to the area and have myself any meal at any price that I wish, period. So yes, Deborah, get a hold of me on my website, please. George, I want to sue my ex-partner / ex-wife. She has not provided financials from my business. She's been stealing money. Ooh, boy. I would need the whole story on that before I could offer any advice at all. It's difficult. I would never own a business with a spouse. I would always keep my business life and my pleasure life completely separate from each other. And I'm not criticizing you at all. And I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just saying that I would not do it because it's hard enough to get along with somebody in the confines of a marriage. Try getting along with somebody within the confines of a marriage and business decisions that must be made every single day. There will be conflict, and that conflict will carry on to home, and it'll make for a very stress-filled home. But if that is indeed the case, I got to know the whole story. You'd have to get a hold of me on my website for that one. Steve says, I got audited for GST. Do I need to show just the months that I was audited? Well, the question I would have is, do you owe GST or do they owe you GST? Now, if they owe you GST, all that's required is you show them your 3 biggest invoices to clients and your 3 biggest expenses. And you put in a letter that states that that is all that you are willing to give them at this point. You're not comfortable with this. You don't know the auditor. I'm sorry, but we do not have a relationship of trust. This is all that I'm going to offer. And you would submit that and it must be accepted. There we go. Do not let them in your house. Do everything in writing with these guys and give them the bare minimum. Okay, just checking more of your questions here. Okay, Canola Girl, let us know what that means. All right, so Jason, perhaps you could put down on the contact form a point form, shortened point form version of what the tax issue is. I'd like to at least review that. All right, DJ Byrne, I contacted one of your staff. He said that you're not able to help. I've already claimed expenses on 3 rentals in 2024. I got a $15K refund, but I wanted to redo it at 0 to my tax payable. Are you sure you spoke to my team? Because what I would recommend for that one is we change your entire tax strategy for 2025. If you got a refund, awesome. I don't think that redoing your taxes is going to help you any. What we would do is make sure that you have 0 income, but a lot of expenses for 2025. That way your tax bill is 0. They might even owe you money. So that would be something that I am, I'm curious about anyway. I mean, do the same thing, DJ. Head over to my website and give me the point form story so I can have a quick peek at it and let you know if it's going to cause flags or not. I'm not necessarily concerned about red flags at the CRA. What I'm concerned about is, am I working within the confines of criminal law? I don't give a crap about the Income Tax Act. I don't care one bit about the GST Act, the Excise Tax Act, the Fisheries Act, the Tobacco Act. I don't care about statutes. I only care about criminal law. And if everything that we're going to do for you violates every statute and violates every part of the Income Tax Act, I do not care, because it's not a crime to do so. I won't steal from people. I will not carry drugs or guns over the border. I won't do any of that nonsense. I'm not going to break into your house. All those are crimes where you do prison time. But telling the CRA where to go is not a crime. And remaining silent is not a crime. Bright side smile. I need to book with you. You've got 12 years of filing. That's great. Actually, guys, if you haven't done taxes for like 3, 6, 12 years, that's actually fantastic. I can do a lot to make sure that your tax bill is zero if your tax bill goes back that far. So please book a consultation on my website right now. Let's get that done. RJ, I owe a dwelling at Kennedy Avenue. So you owe someone more than 200K. RJ, I don't understand the question. Please rephrase that for me. Certainly appreciate that. Mark Savoya is here. Mark, how are you? I hope business is rocking for you. Your videos are looking great, by the way, brother. So how do I properly open a corporation in Canada for service, number and classes of shares? Well, Margin, there's a lot of questions I ask everybody. If you're going to open a corporation, what are you doing? Are you utilizing it to make money? I would recommend at that point, like I said earlier in today's show, that we cluster your corporations. You open up a corporation that does all the contracts and invoicing. The second one holds all your money. The third one holds all of your assets. These 3 corporations work in tandem to ensure that your tax bill is zero forever. That's exactly what I would set up for you. If it's going to be a holding company for the purposes of holding crypto, gold, silver, property, condos, houses, farms, whatever it might be, then there's a different structure there. But the only different structure is what information that we share with the CRA. So if I'm going to put your house into a numbered corporation, I'm going to let the CRA know that this is a corporation that does not conduct commerce. There's no earnings, and I put the word null on your tax return, and that's the end of it. So I would need to know well in advance of what you're planning on doing. If you want to have a partnership where you're selling shares, that's important to know. That would actually be a full-fledged discussion, because I need to know what your plans are. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg, for example, I despise the guy. I hate everything about him. But he did one clever thing I do have to salute him for. And that is he made his shares super voting shares. He was able to sell 95% of the shares in the company, but he's got 51% of the vote, because that is how he structured the shares in his company. All right. So Daniel, you've got a call with me tomorrow at 8 a.m. You sure about 8 a.m.? I thought it was 9, but I'm looking, check that, please. And I'm looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. That'd be fantastic. Alex, can I ask about structures for cross-border taxes? Well, I would need a more specific question, but if you're a Canadian citizen and you own property in the United States, like I said earlier in the show, keep your mouth closed about what you own. If you own property in Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama, you own it in Russia, be silent about that. You're under no legal obligation to tell the Canadian government what you own anywhere. First, that's constitutional. Secondly, that's the charter. And third, there's no law that says you have to do it. Not one. So if I don't have to do it, I'm not doing it. I would highly recommend you do the same. There's also nothing wrong with you opening up bank accounts right now in the United States. Mexico right now in select banks is paying up to 12% if you deposit 1 million US or more. That's 12%. That's $120,000 a year. And then you compound that for 2 or 3 more years. That's remarkable amounts of money you'd make. Just around the world, everybody, countries want to be the first world. And they're going out of their way to accommodate gringos with money. And when I say gringo, I just mean anybody who's born in the Western world. And for those who think that Panamanians do not like gringos, trust me when I say this. They love gringos very, very much. Why? Because according to Panamanians, gringo have money, all right? You have money. They assume when they see blanco, they see white skin, that you have money. That's the first assumption that gets made. And the cops protect gringos something fierce. If I'm not sure if all of you remember that photograph where I've got my arm, I'm taking a photograph of myself sticking out of the side of a police car. The cops, if you end up walking through a rough neighborhood at night, they will put you in the back seat politely and they'll drive you to your hotel because they don't want gringos getting robbed. It's bad for business. All right. So Panama goes out of its way to protect gringos. Now, there is one neighborhood in town that I never go into alone, but that's just smart. Why? Because there's gang activity. Why? Because every city has gang activity. Why? Because human beings in general just suck. Why? I don't know. I wasn't there when the sauce got passed around. All right. So let's just stick to it. Panama's a great place to be. Other countries around the world have got far more opportunity than Canada ever will again for the next 100 years. Canada as a country is finished. There is no point wasting your time there. So I would say, let me do your taxes. Let me get you back every penny I possibly can. Let me get you out of debt. Let me remove you from the tax system legally. And then let's get you out of that country where you can live a great life like mine. My life rocks. Alrighty. Deborah, what is the right way to respond to an HST audit when they disallow all your ITCS? You object to their objection, and they will, of course, side with themselves. So that's when we utilize tax court. And in that one there, if you lose in tax court, we can appeal that and stretch it out as long as possible. But if they owe you HST, we've been having luck filing lawsuits against the CRA. And when the CRA realizes that they have a lawsuit pending against them, they have to go to the management team, and the management team then has to call the Department of Justice. The Department of Justice will then inform them, yeah, this looks like a legitimate lawsuit. We're going to have to defend this thing. And the DOJ charges the CRA $10,000 a day to represent them. And the DOJ just sends the crappiest lawyers known to man, like 20-year-old girls, DEI hires. That's what they send to defend the CRA. So we've actually been winning out of court with the CRA. Now, there's always a way to win. And Kedman, sorry, buddy, but the trolls are just not allowed. Bye-bye. Confirm. Out. So next, RJ. RJ says, if I owe Revenue Canada more than $200,000, can I go to jail? Oh, God, no. No. There's no debtor's prison in Canada. You could owe the CRA $16 trillion and never do a day in jail. There is absolutely no capacity whatsoever for the CRA to put you in prison. All right. Don't fear all the nonsense. When people will tell you all the time, you know, you can go to jail for that. That's because they're just outright a coward. They're afraid of their own shadow. People who are afraid of things will tell you any lie possible to bring you down to their level so that you never accelerate above them. It's true. Human beings will spend a lot of time sabotaging any and all of your efforts. You know, my mother was one of those people because, you know, God bless her. I love my mom. All right. She's my mom. But everything that came out of her mouth was negative. I'm like, don't do that. You're going to rock the boat. You're going to upset people. So you want to be rich. You're going to piss a lot of people off, man. Let me tell you that. You cannot get rich without standing out in a crowd and irritating the living hell out of almost everybody around you. And it's the same thing with taxes. If you tell someone, hey, I haven't paid tax in 26 years, which I have not. Well, if I got to pay tax, you're going to pay tax. And that kind of talk starts. Well, first off, who says you have to pay tax? And just because you do it, it doesn't mean I have to do it. Right? Remember your parents would say, if your friends jumped off a bridge, would you? Well, my gears would turn on that question. You know, is the water really deep down below? Is it less than 30 feet? Do I get free ice cream if I do it? These are questions I would ask. So you have to ask more extreme stuff. if all your friends decided to put pencils in their eyeballs, would you do it? Well, that's a resounding no. So just because you say that you have to do taxes, which you don't, you are going to tell me that I have to do them because you did them. And I think it's mostly because you're angry that you did not have the guts to not do them. And so you're angry with me because, well, you're angry with yourself. That's really what it boils down to. It was the same idea during that COVID crapola where people would say, if I have to wear a mask, you have to wear a mask. And I would ask the question, who told you have to wear a mask? It's all under false pretense. If you're afraid, don't bring that to me. I'm not afraid. So I'll do what I want. Thank you very much. Housewife of New Brunswick. That's a cool name. Housewife of New Brunswick. When I hire you, do we fill out the forms for our taxes so you can help us submit them? No, I don't do the tips thing because we've tried that like 2 years ago. We tried that and it failed miserably because it actually takes the time that it normally would take and expands it to like 2 or 3 times over. It'd be the same idea as plumbers, the ones who joke saying it's $75 an hour for plumbing and $500 per hour if you help. All right. So it doesn't work. It really doesn't work. I would like to be able to offer tutoring on that, but that would be a completely separate charge because it is that much work to do that. Not saying that you're stupid or incompetent. I'm just saying it's very difficult to communicate on something as sensitive as taxes. I want to make sure we get it done right for you. Jason, thank you for that. You're going to enjoy yourself, and I will see you. You said January 4th. That's got to be wrong. It's January 13th today. Do you mean 24th? Anyway, we'll see you then. Appreciate that. Jolly, is a corporation bound and limited to certain types of work? Absolutely not. You could register a corporation called Hardcore Concrete Company and make cake. Yes. Or how about Rick's Lingerie Cleaning Service and then open a hockey arena? All right. No, it doesn't matter. It's just words. Everything is arbitrary. All right. The rules of the land, arbitrary. Even the Dominion of Canada is just an arbitrary piece of paper stored somewhere in Ottawa. It's all nonsense. It's paperwork. No, it doesn't matter at all. You all hear me speak very philosophically on this show. All of human existence is arbitrary. Who's going to know when we are no longer here? Who's going to care? The answer is nobody. So you open up a corporation on paper, which is a man-made concept. It doesn't matter at all, anything, both legally and philosophically. There we go. Iron Fist. Is there any law that says a Canadian has to declare that they are a citizen of another country? Nope, not one. Not a single solitary one. In fact, you have the right to remain silent. Please exercise that at all costs. Do Canadians have to disclose if they have recently obtained a foreign passport or citizenship? No. I have residencies right now in 2 other countries. In about 6 months, I'm going to have passports in 2 countries. I'm not telling anybody which ones they are, and I'm not going to call the CRA and say, hey guys, guess what? Got a passport. No, there's no law that says I have to spill the beans on myself at any time. Okay. Deborah, how do I get to tax court? All right. In order to get to tax court it's crap. It's nonsense. Canadian tax court is merely a tribunal that only reviews appeals for the Canada Revenue Agency, for EI, for labor disputes, for fisheries and gunnery acts and whatnot. It's junk. The judges come out in that ridiculous black dress and they got a big purple sash. They're not judges. They're clowns. They're fools. They sit at this desk and tax court is mostly done by phone now because that's how busy they are. So the judge never even sees your face. They just barks out and so on. So to get to tax court, the CRA assesses your taxes. You disagree, so you object. They refuse your objection, so that's fine. Now you say, okay, I'm going to appeal your decision, and you go to tax court. Tax court right now is booked all the way until June of 2027. So your case will come up maybe in 2027. And Clause 7 of the Taxpayers' Bill of Rights is clear. You do not owe tax dollars so long as your tax amounts are in dispute. That's how that works. So Jolly says they are refusing appeals now, just like the regular courts do. Well, that's where lawsuits against the individual CRA representative come in. That's where criminal charges for fraud, obstruction of justice, intimidation, extortion, all these criminal charges, all these lovely, lovely charges that we can file are there. By the way, everyone, I've got a series right now on TikTok, and embarrassingly, for some reason, they've only got like 4,000 views. I want everybody who's on TikTok, and everybody who's not on TikTok, to go to TikTok, Real Kevin J Johnston, that's the TikTok ID, and watch the series of videos. There's 3 of them up right now. There are 22 videos in the series. Every day around 7 a.m. Eastern time, there is going to be a video that comes out about the laws the CRA breaks, what the description of the law is, and how many years of prison that they will do for the breaking of those laws. It is very important that all of you understand that the CRA are a criminal enterprise. They're just a collection agency. They lie to make money. Appeal. If it doesn't work, sue. If it doesn't work, file charges. But the one big thing that each and every one of you must do is make sure your houses and your money and your cars and your gold and your crypto are not in your name. If you have nothing in your personal name, Canada, United States, Panama, Australia, if everything's hidden in corporations, nobody has leverage over you, and nobody can take your money, and nobody can garnish your wages, and nobody can garnish anything. That's just how it is. Igor, my only income is from social services. Is there anything I can take advantage of? I don't know. I tend to not get into that market because so many people have so little success, if they're Canadian born, that is, getting their hands on government stuff. I mean, I sunk to an all-time low once in the province of Ontario. I applied for welfare because I just had nothing left. And they told me that they had met their quota of white people for that month. And I'm sorry, you got to try again next month. That's literally, that was told to me. So I don't know. Social programs are difficult. And let's be honest, guys, it's really not that profitable for me to pursue them. So I don't pursue them. What I'm looking for when I read all the case law that I read, I'm looking for ways to help Americans, Canadians, and Australians not pay tax anymore. Like, just not pay tax and get rich doing it. So Igor, eventually I'm going to have the manpower to begin to investigate every single government program that we can take advantage of. I just don't have time. I really wish I did. Housewife in New Brunswick. When we hire, oh no, we've already gone through that question. Robbie says, I cannot move to a country without a hockey rink and a national soccer team. Okay, but they have pro baseball here. Pro baseball here is only $4 a ticket. Give it a shot. Oh, and boxing is really big in this country. And in Panama, everyone, there's no real boxing association. So you could run dirty fights on the roof of your condominium. It'd be great. You could have like YouTube bouts and whatnot and make a ton of money. There's opportunity here. All right. That's what I'm saying. All righty. My father passed away in 2020. He had a big debt with the CRA. He had no assets recently. All right, so we've covered this before. When a loved one in Canada and Australia dies, you do not tell the CRA or the ATO until 3 years later. I never do a dead man's taxes until 3 years later, after the house and the cash and the cars have been moved or liquefied or whatever it is that you choose to do with it, because it's now your stuff. With me delaying everything by 3 years, there is nothing that the CRA could ever do or say to take what's yours. Believe me, a dead man's stuff does not belong to the CRA, the IRS, or the ATO. But the only way to make sure that that's true is to have me as your tax guy, where we simply do not tell them. And folks, come on. When somebody in your family dies, I know it's sad. It's a tough time. It's difficult. I've lost a lot of people in the last 15 years, a lot. Don't post on Facebook looking for sympathy from strangers. Don't post on social media at all. You know, some things should be private. The death of a loved one should absolutely be private. So somebody needs to someone needs to be in charge. Someone needs to be the complete jerk whenever a person dies in the family and tells everyone, shut up, no postings, I've got this, I'm in charge. Let's not tip our hand to anyone out there, because it is amazing that when someone dies, the vultures just show up. Oh, yeah, your father, he just died. He owes me $26,000 on a tinsmithing job that we did together. This kind of crap happens all the time. And I'll never forget when my father-in-law died. I had to sit on the front porch turning members of the family away on both sides of the family, saying, oh, yeah, I left my hammer in there. I left my power tools in there. Oh, and you just remembered now? Your brother just remembered now too. Your sister 3 hours ago just remembered the ironing board and everything else. Like, it's sick, man. People really show their true colors when someone dies. So I'm asking all of you out there, especially with how crazy the world is right now, be silent about the death of loved ones. Let me make sure that all your taxes are sound and secure. Then, and only then, form the CRA. All right, so Steve, no, you're not responsible for the debts of a dead man. You're just not. Unless the house has been willed to you and it still has a mortgage. If you want to keep that house, you have to take over the mortgage, but you still get the equity in the house. So let's say your dad has a house and it's worth $1 million and he paid 700 grand off on the mortgage and there's still $300,000 left to pay. You would pay that 300 grand in stages to make sure you keep the house, or sell the house and get the 700K in equity, in cash. It's entirely up to you. But no, you don't owe anything. All right. Hold on a second. This is one of my favorite questions. Did you hear about the people that went to jail for selling how to avoid the CRA? Yes, and I know exactly who you're talking about, and I'm not going to name the individual here because I don't hate them, but they were teaching free man on the land strategies. The type of thing where free man people will say, oh, if you find an abandoned property, you just move in. Just break the door and move in. Well, that's break and enter. That's criminal trespass, vandalism. It's really ridiculous. Fraud, and so on. I don't teach people that. I would tell anyone, if you find an abandoned property, it's not yours. You don't break into it. If you see money on the table when you're at a friend's house, it's not yours. Don't put it in your pocket. If you go to your friend's house and he's got, 5 or 6 PlayStation games that you're envious of, don't take them home. They're not yours. That's why that individual did some time. Mark, CRA asked me to provide an explanation as to what the consulting fees paid to your corporation are for. You don't answer that question. Thank you. I'm going to let you talk to my lawyer. That's all you have to say. All right? And hang up the phone. You're not going to answer any of their questions. Hilarious Eli, how do you dispute outrageous penalties? We redo your taxes as far back as those penalties began. They won't accept them, but they will have to assess them. And upon the brand new assessment, then we can appeal their decision and take it into tax court. Meanwhile, we move all your money out of your personal accounts. We move your house out of your name into a corporation, and we move your cars and your property into numbered corporations. Hold on one second here. Instagram. I'm now being signaled I have to fly. I want to thank all of you for being here today. If any of you have any questions about crypto or how in the United States you can move money out of the U.S. into Panama, or investment opportunities in Panama, El Salvador, and in Argentina, please get a hold of me at kevinjjohnston.com. Thank you. Good night. All righty. Yeah, Instagram's like cutting me off at 2 hours now. It's kind of bizarre. All righty. I'll take a couple more questions here, and then I got a motor myself. Carl, question. Changing the tax returns seems limited to 10 years. What if the tax debt comes from returns prior to those 10 years? How can those amounts be objected? Well, we give it a shot anyway. So long as the CRA issues an assessment, we can appeal that assessment. That's what we're after here. We sucker the CRA into giving an assessment on old tax files so that we can appeal them in modern tax court. And so long as we can get them to assess it, we now have an opportunity to get them to give us the right to take them to court. Now, there's other tricks that I can pull, but those are trade secrets, my friends. So you'd have to be a client before I would explain them to you, because they're just a little bit too secret. And why? Because I invented them. And I don't give away all of my inventions. Excise audit lasts for 1 year. So user 99, I don't understand the question. Please rephrase that. Mercer, can the CRA seize all bank accounts? How can we run our business as a sole proprietor? All right. This will be the last question for the night, everybody, and it's a good one. The CRA does not seize your bank account. The CRA sends a requirement to pay letter to the bank, which does not ever show up along with a court order. And the bank is within their rights to have their lawyer write a letter saying, no, we will not give you the money. We will not freeze the bank account. But they don't, because they're all part of the same money laundering clique, which means they protect each other all the time, which means the bank will say, hey, CRA, no problem. Here comes the money. They'll just rip you off. That's theft, and that's breach of trust. You are within your rights at that point to file criminal charges against everybody who works in that bank branch. Why not? Do it. Canadians don't do it. Could you imagine if 1 million Canadians filed criminal charges against bank managers? Yeah. The same bank managers would get hit over and over and over again. The banks would change their policies. We have to become an army and fight, and we can do it without weapons. We can just put criminal charges on these people, file lawsuits. Now, how can you run a business as a sole proprietor? Don't do it as a sole proprietor at all. Earlier in the show, I covered that you would have a cluster of corporations. Corporation 1, you do business out of. That writes all the invoices, but the money is held in a holding company. Corporation number 2, corporation number 3 owns all of your property. You have to cluster corporations. Every company out there needs to be a cluster of at least 3 to protect every single penny and asset that you have. All right. And see it. Thank you for all the hearts. Thank you for all the diamonds tonight. We got the best fans here. We really do. So, see, you're fantastic. Thank you very much for everything. All right. YYC Studio, or YYC Studs. There's probably a story behind that name. All right. I sent my info to your website. I hope to talk to you soon. Fantastic. We will be getting back to everybody who's messaging us tonight within the next 24 hours. That is how we do it. I appreciate that. RJ, I owe them $200,000. Should I file bankruptcy? No, a $200,000 debt is something that I can wipe out with clever accounting. Bankruptcy is something that you reserve for millions. Like, if you're going to go bankrupt, I would actually help you get into millions of dollars of debt. Then it's worthwhile, but not for $200K. All right, Carl. Question, based on clause 7, there can't be tax owing for amounts under dispute. Does that mean they have to return all the funds that they previously collected on those amounts? No, not till the dispute is done and resolved. Once it's resolved, you get the money back. But the whole idea behind using clause 7 is to buy the time that we need to move all your assets out of your name and to redo your taxes down to 0 to get you back as much money as we possibly can. All right, everyone. That's going to be it for tonight. I got to take off. I want to say thank you for the questions. Highly interactive room tonight. It was wonderful to have everybody back. It's good to be in 2026. It's getting brighter all the time. There's a lot of money to be made in Latin America. There's a lot of money to be made in places like Poland and the Czech Republic and Slovakia and so on. Countries that are not playing along with the EU, countries that are not playing along with the left wing, countries that are not playing along with the general stupidity of the world right now. If you want to know how to make money, you want to live in Panama, you want to move your money to Panama, get a hold of me on my website, kevinjjohnston.com. Wow. If you want me to take over your GST and your payroll, you want to stop paying tax forever, you want to be rich, I'm the guy you contact at kevinjjohnston.com. This is the Tax and Money Show that runs absolutely every single Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on freedomreport.ca. We're going to see you in a week. I love you all, and good night.